Hello everyone, and welcome to the series, Is She Really a Prophet? This is a series where we explore the life, works, and the history of Ellen White. For those of you who don't know, Ellen White is a prophet, or is claimed to be a prophet by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. This video is mainly designed for current members of the church, former members of the church, and people who are interested in Adventism or have been evangelized to by Adventists who have questions about who Ellen White is. There's a lot of things that are not really spoken about in the Adventist church, or if they are discussed, they're discussed behind closed doors where other members don't really see it, or where new converts don't really understand a lot of this. This is something that I heard a little bit about growing up, but I grew up in the Adventist church, and even then it really wasn't talked about too much. When it was talked about, typically somebody was being branded a dissenter, or somebody who, not quite a heretic, but somebody who just didn't have a good feeling about Ellen White or the esteem the church puts on her. So that all being said, I was born in the Adventist church, I was raised in the Adventist church, and I left the Adventist church. The biggest reason I left the Adventist church was Ellen White and the influence that she places on the church, or the status that the church puts on her based on her work and writings, that I don't feel is consistent with the Bible. I feel like it's very important when somebody makes the claim to have a prophet in their church to really, especially if it's a prophet outside of the Bible, to really test that spirit and see if that spirit is true or false. We do know the Bible talks about false prophets coming up, and it talks about true prophets coming up as well. So this is something I think we need to be very careful about when we discuss this. I don't believe she meets the qualifications of a prophet, and I hope that this series will show why she doesn't meet that. And I want to present this based on factual data. I don't want to take a vision or two and break them apart and be like, oh, she's wrong because of X, Y, and Z. That doesn't really achieve anything. All that does is tell you that maybe this person's overzealous, or that, maybe there's a misunderstanding in the interpretation of a vision. So I want to take some time to explore her life, explore historical data, explore her writings, visions, claims, etc., to determine, is this person a prophet or are they not? I will say, as a former Adventist, I do not believe this person is a prophet. I cannot in good faith say this person has prophetic authority after examining her life and everything that we see. So I would like this to be a group effort. So if you want to comment, if you have something to say about what I'm doing, go ahead. By all means, use the comments. Just please be respectful, be respectful of other people's views, because this is a sensitive subject for a lot of current Adventists as well as a lot of former Adventists. It's almost like, for former Adventists, it's like the battle scar that they wear. And for current Adventists, this is the standard that they hold dear. So I do want this to be respectful of the views, even though we're going to expose some things that current Adventists may not like. So if you're asking who Ellen White is, I'll give you a brief introduction. You've probably already been introduced to her before, especially if you've had someone show up at your door or share with you the Adventist faith. She lived in the 1800s, early 1800s to early 1900s, and she was pivotal in the formation of the Adventist church. Because of this, she claimed to have a lot of visions, and they became pivotal to the formation of the church. And because of this, she is regarded as a prophet in the church. To this day, she is still regarded as a prophet. And so if we look at the Adventist.org website, which is the official website of Adventism, you'll notice that they have 28 fundamental beliefs. And if we look at belief number 18, which I'm scrolling to it right now, I just had it and I just lost it. What we'll see is the belief in prophecy as a sign of the remnant church. So I'm just going to quote it real quick. The scriptures testify that one of the gifts of the Holy Spirit is prophecy. This gift is an identifying mark of the remnant church, and we believe it was manifested in the ministry of Ellen White. Her writings speak with prophetic authority and provide comfort, guidance, instruction, and correction to the church. They also make clear that the Bible is the standard by which all teaching and experience must be tested. So we already know that the Adventist church officially believes that her writings speak with prophetic authority. But what did Ellen White believe? I bet somebody in the comments is going to say, Ellen White never claimed to be a prophet, and you are absolutely correct. That's usually the first thing that somebody will say when they're defending the Ellen White case. I do want to point out what she believed about it, though. It's not enough to just say she didn't believe she was a prophet. We've got to understand the context of what she's speaking with. And so I went straight to the Ellen White Estate to find out. I'm going to be quoting from the book Selected Messages, and it's very interesting what she shares about this. And there's more than a couple quotes. I'm only going to share 2 from Selected Messages, but if you look it up, and I'll put this link in the description so you guys can examine this. I do want to look at a couple quotes that I think are very compelling. The first quote is, "Why have I not claimed to be a prophet? Because in these days, many who boldly claim that they are prophets are a reproach to the cause of Christ, and because my work includes much more than the word prophet signifies." And I think that's a very interesting finding. It's not that Ellen White thought that being a prophet was up here and she wasn't doing a prophet's work, and that's why she didn't consider herself a prophet. Quite on the contrary, she does much more work than the word prophet signifies. So I think that needs to soak in as we start this series to understand exactly where Ellen White sat with this term prophet. It wasn't that she wasn't good enough for the term prophet. It was almost that she was too good, and she did much more than what the term prophet signifies. The other quote is, "To claim to be a prophetess is something I have never done. If others call me by that name, I have no controversy with them." So she's going to let them call her that. "But my work has covered so many lines that I cannot call myself other than a messenger sent to bear the message of the Lord to his people and to take up work at any line that he points out." So I think we understand where Ellen White's coming from. I don't think that needs a lot of explanation. You can go ahead and look for yourself. I'll have that link in the description, and you can see exactly what she believes. To that end, she wrote over more than 40 books and thousands of articles to people, mainly with correction, exhortation, and guidance. So where this claim, you read it, the Adventist beliefs, the 28 fundamentals, and it only mentions it once, and you kind of shrug your shoulders as you shrug your shoulders at it as you're going through the process of becoming a member, and you don't really realize just how deep her work permeates the church. And that's one of the big things that I'm concerned about, because it seems like it's roughly mentioned in the fundamentals, but it goes so much deeper than just the fundamentals. It impacts your daily life. It can impact what you eat, what you wear, what you do on specific days. It gets pretty deep. So there's a lot of implications if there is actually a prophet, and they've written 40 books of divine instruction. So before I shared this with everybody, I went ahead and I made a survey, an anonymous survey, and I had a decent number of participants ranging from current members of the church, former members of the church, and just people who were casually interested in the life of Ellen White and this study. This was anonymous. Thank you for participating. If you participated late last year, I will also have a link to the survey in the description of this video, just so that if you wanted to take the survey, you can. I'm probably not going to look at the survey results much more for the purposes of this series, unless I find something that really drastically changes the results that we've gotten. Very interesting thing about this is that 46% of the participants were former members, and among those 46%, it seems like Ellen White is the belief in Ellen White is a pivotal changing moment in their belief system, where only out of the 46%, there was only one survey where the person still believed that Ellen White was prophetic or spoke with authority of a prophet. On the other side, you had 38% of current members. Out of those, about 90% of what I would call legacy members, which are members that have been members for 20, 40 years of the church, people who were born and raised in church, actually believe that she's a prophet. There are a few outliers there that will say she just had good advice. And then when you get into the newer members, I'm talking 1 to 5 years of membership or 1 to 10 years of membership, you see a split. And it's almost anyone's ballgame, whether she is a prophet, she just has good input, or she doesn't impact me at all. So I think it's very interesting to see that the church within itself and the newer membership it seems to be changing. And I think maybe that's a good sign. I do want to point out something I found interesting, and I think this will be, especially for the staunch believers in Ellen White, this will be a very good starting point, a platform. The overwhelming majority of what I would call legacy members are prone to favor the King James Version of the Bible and the New King James Version of the Bible. and I think that's a good thing. The reason that most of them gave, there was a couple of outliers, but most of the members stated that they favor these because they're as original to they are as authentic to the original text of the Bible as they can get. So there is a very strong, very earnest desire in these Christians to get to the freshest, most original words coming from God, and I commend them for that. That is very admirable. That being said, when we look at the rest of the survey, everybody agreed on one thing. Everybody agreed on this. And there was a couple, and I'm not going to say this disagreement. Everyone agreed on this. Absolutely nobody thinks that it's okay to change divinely inspired words. The most anyone is okay with. And that's like less than a third of them, of the participants. They're okay with making minor changes that do not affect the message being sent out. So if it was a thought-for-thought translation, for example, the Bible, they're okay with that as long as it does not change the thought-for-thought message that is being translated or carried out to a reader. And I think that's very important, especially when we look at these legacy members who are prone to favoring King James and New King James for the reason of authenticity. Because when we examine Ellen White's visions, it's very helpful to realize that what we have now as Adventists or former Adventists is a very watered down version of a lot of the pivotal visions that Ellen White claims to have had divine inspiration on. So it's important to go back to the first edition of a lot of her writings, a lot of these visions, and see exactly what divinely inspired information was put out to the early church, the early Adventist church, and to see how the things change throughout as the church grows and throughout church history. And this is the stuff they don't talk about in church. This is the stuff they talk about in closed door. Typically, it's with somebody who's really questioning their beliefs in Ellen White. So with all that being said, guys, I think this is going to be an excellent series. I'm an amateur at making videos, so I'm going to try my best to make these as cleanly or as professionally as possible. I am starting nursing school, so I'm going to be a little bit busy. I'm going to try to crank one of these movies out or one of these videos out every week or two. And so far, I've got about 8 to 10 videos set up to be filmed and then put out. We are going to have a question and answer session for each video at the beginning of the video, addressing the previous video. So if there's anything that I missed, I can own up to it, or if there's some clarification that needs to be given or question that needs to be answered, I can answer it there for everyone to see. If you came here for a quick 10, 15 minute spiel on is she a prophet or not, you're in for a longer haul than that. You can skim through some of these videos if you want to try to pick apart places. I will say, if you just wanted the answer, I say no, but you'll need to examine the facts for yourself to make that decision for yourself. So let's see here. I think that's all I had to say today. So we don't need to get unnecessarily argumentative or defensive on these comments. We can be respectful of people and just share beliefs or interesting findings. So I thank you guys for your time. I'll make these as best as my schedule can allow. If obviously I put these out and absolutely nobody's interested in them, then I probably won't put too much energy into them. But hopefully if they find somebody and they help somebody and they help lead somebody into a better faith in Jesus Christ and answering the actual 2 questions that are the most important questions in your Christian experience, one being, who is Jesus? And 2 being, what did you do with him in your life? I'm hoping that this study can help get you there. And I'm hoping that this provides somebody with a little bit of light and maybe the answers that they're looking for. So thanks for your time, guys. I will see you guys in the next video. See ya.